Good morning, a joy to be with you and to build on the amazing presentations shared to date so that on live examples we can explore what these grid interactive buildings can actually mean for those who occupy and run them. To give you a bit of context on me, I studied architecture, but my passion from the very beginning was in transformational change. How do we do it better? How do we accelerate it? How do we avoid unintended consequences? The most transformational thing happening in the early noughts when I completed my postgraduate research was green buildings. So of course I jumped headfirst into that and helped establish 4 different green building councils with the many rating systems and building code modifications and standards that accompanied that, as well as helped bring the Living Future Institute from the US to Australia, and have since taught at university level on 4 different continents, helping both emerging and senior professionals just figure out better, how do we do this? How do we advance towards a sustainable regenerative future? So fast forward to now, the most transformational thing I believe is happening in the built environment is grid interactive buildings. So I'm working with a company called Powerledger to further accelerate that. So give you a little bit of context about Powerledger. It's an Australian company that is a SaaS platform, software as a service, that enables the tracing, tracking, and trading of energy, environmental commodities, and grid flexibility services. The logic there is that the grid is only as good as the market that sits behind it. And we need a much more organic, much more streamlined integration of distributed energy resources onto the grid, because without it, let's be honest, they're a bit of a poison chalice, right? Of course, they're the future. Of course, we need them. But without more seamless integration, they are creating at times more problems than they solve. We have to solve for that in order to transition to a fully electric future. So for Powerledger, the way I think of its superpower is the ability to spin up local trading environments to actually start addressing the time and place problem that we have with renewable energy resources. So Powerledger is, as a result, behind some of the most mind-bending as well as pragmatic and transformational use cases around the world, and I'll share a couple with you. Just keep in mind, Powerledger is now operating across 14 countries, so there's more use cases where these have come from, and also is very involved in the advocacy and education and policy debate around the world to advance these solutions on a larger scale. So I will start building what Stephen has introduced with T77. It's an example of the world's largest peer-to-peer trading environment in Bangkok, Thailand.
P2P Energy Trading Trial Project at Sansiri's T77, a joint initiative between BCPG and Powerledger. The project comprises 4 participating entities with an energy storage system connected to the grid of the Metropolitan Electricity Authority, or MEA. All entities have different energy consumption patterns and solar power generation capacity. Electricity demand at Habito Mall peaks during the day every day. Bangkok Prep International School has a large area for solar panel installation with diverse electricity demand patterns. At Park Court Condominium, electricity demand varies throughout the day. For example, low demand during daytime. Dental Hospital has high demand in daytime, but has some constraints in solar panels installation. Hence, they have joined the project as a buyer. The electricity produced from each entity will be initially used within the building, so that residents can have lower energy costs. Trading occurs as a result of different load profiles of each entity. Excess energy is sold to other entities through P2P energy trading system. If there's an energy surplus from all 4 entities, it will be sold to Energy Storage System, or ESS. If the ESS is full, excess electricity can be sold to the grid through MEA network in the future. If all 4 buildings consume more than they can produce, trading is done from P2P, ESS, and MEA respectively. some entities have excess energy while others are short of electricity. Those with demand will buy from those with excess energy at the lowest price possible. Sellers will sell their electricity to buyers with the highest offer. All entities can act as buyers and sellers. This is impossible without the use of blockchain technology, which helps determine the transaction in a split second, using an application which is available both on computer and mobile phone. Transactions can be done in real time, making anyone a producer of electricity from clean energy and enable cost control at their fingertips. Democratization of power, giving power back to the people.
All right. So before I go into the implications for grid interactive buildings, I just want to spend a second on blockchain technology. For a lot of people, and I was one of them a couple of years ago, blockchain is associated with pretty much exclusively crypto. This is not what we're talking about here. I think of blockchain as wood, as timber. You can build all kinds of things with it. You can build a boat, you can build a chair, you can build a salad bowl. So crypto is only one thing that you can do with blockchain technology. Powerledger uses it to build energy solutions. What blockchain enables through the way that it operates is an immutable record and an instantaneous tracing of provenance of energy. And that is incredibly powerful, both as Craig has spoken about real-time decarbonization, without knowing real-time carbon footprint and how it goes up and down, which you would see if I took you under the hood of this trading environment. You would see, hey, right now 30% is from my rooftop solar, 20% is from the neighboring school, right? You can really see the source of your renewable power. And that also, of course, pulls into any sort of reporting that you need to do, saving a ton of time on what is usually pretty manual and grueling, as well as money on both the time, the research, the settlement, and potentially auditing cost. So blockchain technology is applied to energy, but also identity and land ownership and supply chain, all kinds of amazing applications. And Powerledger is very active with the Global Blockchain Business Council in advocating and educating on the use of blockchain to advance sustainable development goals. So having said that, you now see in real life what prosumers and consumers look like, right? So some people or some entities in this environment have something to sell when it comes to renewable energy, others don't. So some only join as buyers or consumers, others as prosumers. So let's just take a couple of more examples here of what this means. This entire precinct has now grown, as you saw in the case study slide, and continues to grow, in part because of how amazing the business case is. The solar generation on site across the entire precinct is only about 18%, not a lot. They're saving on average 25% on their energy costs. That is amazing, right? That does change the business case. That does send the price signals to the market saying, look, this is great. And what it is also doing is it is allowing 100% of renewable generation to be consumed within one precinct. That is why this is so phenomenally good for the grid. I'm going to ask you to use the analogy of, say, a highway. Imagine if 10 miles was the furthest anybody ever had to travel on a highway. Imagine how that would transform our land use, the embodied energy of highways and roads, the pollution, the biodiversity loss, car accidents and deaths associated with them, even sore backs. Fine, make it 95% of the time for 95% of the people, but you get the logic. The more we consume renewable energy at the source of its generation, the more pressure we remove off the grid, and the closer and faster we get to that clean energy future. So add electric vehicles to this, as Adrian has introduced. Now imagine that rather than 4 trading entities, every electric vehicle battery is just a battery on wheels. So now you might be charging your battery at times of plenty, and you might be discharging it and making a clip and making some good money when somebody else needs it. Now imagine this precinct as an airport. You know how long you're going to be there, 3 days, 5 days, however long your business trip or vacation. You mark on your phone, yes, dear airport, just leave me 15% so that if I come home early, I can get anywhere I need to go. But otherwise, use my battery. For the airport, clean energy, right? But also pushing back the need for investment, maybe in more infrastructure, maybe addressing their capacity ceilings, but also serving as demand response, serving maybe as emergency power, right? All of those things are starting to really activate. Now think that you can donate rather than sell, right? So maybe my excess solar goes to the veterans center, or to the dog shelter, or to my kids' school, because I know that they can trade it if they need it. Now add to this the ability to choose your energy source. In France, with Equateur retailer, we now have 300,000 residents and growing, who not only get guaranteed, traceable, auditable, renewable energy, they actually get to choose the source. So imagine going on your phone and actually saying, you know what, I want energy from that school, because I know that other people are donating to it, and this way they can monetize it and they can raise money for the programs that they need, right? Choose your own energy mix. So now let's add another example to this and see what that does. And this is the example of Asahi's largest brewery in the Southern Hemisphere, making a blue-collar beer called Victoria Bitter. So let's see what that does.
Australia, for the first time ever, you can now exchange your solar energy for VB. That's right. If you give us some sun, we'll give you some beer. So what are you waiting for? Let's get the sun working for you.
Amazing, right? So what is happening is that to the customers, this is free beer because they weren't home. They marked on their phone, take my excess solar, I'm out at work, right? To Asahi and Carlton United Breweries, this has been a self-funding marketing campaign that also within 4 months of the pilot generated $3 million of free media around the world. But now take this and see what it might mean if anybody can trade their excess solar for goods and services, right? If you can trade what is in your battery or what is on top of your roof for groceries, for childcare, for movie tickets, that means that every distributed energy resource can now be a source of liquid funds. That is incredibly powerful. That is starting to create these ripples through the community, right? What that might mean is, if you work at a Grid Interactive building that is running an event or Grid Interactive campus, you might get a notification on your phone saying, hey, send us your excess solar, we'll give you some cash. Hey, maybe we actually will give you 25% more if you use it on campus via perks and whatever it is that we're offering you, right? You're all of a sudden engaged, you're contributing, and all of this is staying local and generating and supporting local economy, right? Maybe this is now how your EV battery operates. You charge it up with 100% clean, traceable solar. You go to the shopping center, you plug it in, and maybe you get $30 off your grocery bill, because for the shopping center, it is peak. Maybe your entire family gets to watch a movie for free, right? These are the kinds of amazing things that become possible. And this is how we really can see that energy is power. It is the power to reduce costs. 18%, remember, on-site generation for T77, and 25% average annual energy savings. The power to improve return on investment, advance that payback period, fulfill climate commitments, right? 24/7 clean carbon-free energy is a growing movement. We need that because we do need to be consuming renewable energy close to the source of generation. Here you have a traceable record, and you are finally activating what I think of self-interest, so that people are actually motivated to do the right thing at all times. It is the power to engage your staff, to engage your community, to invest in your community, to make sure that there is the appeal to create these renewable energy resources. And so for the policymakers, the kinds of recommendations, and Ksenia asked us all to make them, first, the mindset shift. We have for too long been passive about energy as the built environment. Sure, energy efficiency, I understand that. But at the end of the day, we just turn the lights on when we need them, and then we just pay the electric bill, completely oblivious to the cycles of renewable energy generation going on around them. Investing through these stories, through creating these environments, in a mindset that the future of energy is interactive, is very much within the remit of policymakers and educators. Make room to learn. All of these projects are run by your peers. Talk to them, have all of us introduce you to them. so that you can learn and create sandboxes. T77 is a good example. Regulation currently would not have allowed T77 to happen, but in a sandbox it can. When a similar pilot was run in Uttar Pradesh, the most populous state in India, it led to the change of regulation for the entire state to allow peer-to-peer, because the state was actually seeing the gains in energy access and equity and clean energy and reduction in pollution through enabling peer-to-peer. So allowing peer-to-peer outside of sandboxes, allowing these grid flexibility services when a building can actually feed back into the grid when the grid needs it. And then spending government monies and incentives on giving community distributed energy resources, right? Because remember, if you can trade access for childcare, for groceries, for coffee, for movies, that might mean that now this is the better asset. I'm not saying don't do other economic stimulus, but consider community solar and other projects as a way to allow disenfranchised and historically marginalized communities to step into this future with more resources and more empowerment. Because this is how we get to this guilt-free, all-electric, clean energy future where people are free to do what they believe is best for them and their families, knowing that it is also enriching the community and also protecting the environment and meeting our climate goals. This is not too good to be true. This is happening. Everything I've shared with you is not only feasible today, most of it is live somewhere in the world, even beyond these two examples. And this is what the kinds of innovation that people who've been sharing with you over the 3 days have made possible over the years. This is what sustainability makes possible. And I really appreciate you letting me share that with you. Thank you.